Last night was the candidate conferee teleconference, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I really thank the people that put it together, and it gave us a great idea of a starting point, hearing for the first time what many of the candidates had to say. My takeaways were that we have some fantastic candidates running, and no matter who's picked to represent the Republicans in District 12, it's going to be a great pick that will have conservative ideals. I also think for the first time this helped inform us all of a brief position of where everyone's coming from. Now, having said that, after hearing what the candidates said, I wanted to discuss a little what I think sets me apart, and that's why I'm doing this video. So, first, I think I'll be able to reach new demographics that traditionally Republicans have had difficulty reaching. This would be demographics such as the young. Now, it's not just because I'm young, but it's also because I understand the problems that the young have gone through. Oftentimes having student loan debt like I have, not being able to use their degree to the fullest potential to make as much money as they thought, and things like that. The Democrats right now are controlling the young demographic, not only by putting out younger candidates, but by promising things that are alluring to the young, such as free tuition, student loan debt eliminated, free health care, and things such as this. This sounds appealing, but I'm able to articulate to the young how this is actually the worst thing for them, because all of this will do is increase the national debt. That debt will eventually be paid back by future generations and the young, which means although something seems free now, it'll end up costing you more in the future. I'll be able to articulate why personal responsibility and liberty and free markets will be able to solve these problems for the young and have economic positions that'll be much better for them in the future. I'll also be able to reach out to minority groups. This could include blacks, Hispanics, people in the inner city, and even groups that aren't traditionally considered minorities but have been difficult to reach for Republican parties, such as single women. This is because the ideals of individuality, which this country is founded on, is best for all people. Currently, we see the Democrats pushing this sort of cultural Marxism and identity politics. They don't view people as individuals. You're merely the groups that you belong to. So if you happen to be a black woman, you're not an individual. You're just someone who is black and a woman. And those group characteristics are all that matters about you. This is terrible and bigoted in my opinion. I will treat every person as an individual and be able to reach these communities and show why that would be best for them, and they'll achieve greater success and have greater and have people that actually understand them as people and not just groups to be pandered to. The last thing is, although I'm talking about reaching out to these groups, I understand the groups and the generations that have made up the Republican Party for years is actually people that we need to model. The reason that this country is the greatest in the world is because we've stood on the shoulders of giants. Every generation before me has sacrificed more than I have, and it's shown us exactly the way we need to go. Things like individualism, personal responsibility, and liberty. I'll respect these values and be able to reach out to a new generation. By reaching these demographics, particularly the young, we'll be able to ensure that the Republican Party is good for generation and generation to come, and not cede those groups to the Democratic Party, which have done nothing to help any of those groups. The next is I feel that I'm able to connect with constituents better than almost any candidate that I heard. Most people talked about setting up offices, at least 3 offices, and things like that, and that is important. It's important to have face-to-face interaction and good staff. But I think that I have a mastery of social media and modern technology that will allow me to connect to constituents even better than any of them suggested. For example, this video I'm putting out mere hours after the teleconference, and I'm able to connect to people. Now imagine using social media how perhaps I vote for a bill on Thursday. My plan would be to every week issue a social media video that is able to articulate to the constituents exactly what I did every week, what's coming up in the following week, and then to be able to take questions from people that agree or disagree with me and answer them on these videos. This will be available for everyone to see. People that don't have access to social media or don't quite understand it would still be able to be connected, because I would make sure that these videos went out to county GOP members, people that are the conferees now that could help out, and especially local media that would be able to inform people week to week what I'd be up to. I would like to be the most known most known congressman to my constituents of all time. I would want them to know exactly what I was up to week, and I feel that I could use social media and modern technology better than any congressperson has done to this point to achieve that. I also recommend things like pushing for teleconferencing to stay in District 12. This wouldn't just help District 12, though that's what's most important to me, but would help our country as a whole. The problem is this: our country's made up of some very unique districts. For example, District 12 happens to be a rural, hardworking, blue-collar district, but there's vastly different, diverse districts all throughout the country. The problem is when you get to Washington, D.C. and you spend all your time there, it's a bubble. It's a very wealthy area that relies on a huge national government to achieve its wealth. This leads to a sort of bubble mentality where you end up only understanding the people that are in that city. I think with modern technology, we could set up secure teleconferencing so that we could stay at our offices in our home districts and be able each day to teleconference in for the day-to-day votes. Now, granted, if there was something serious and a matter of national security, we would have to be in Washington, but we should be there far less. This would do all sorts of great things, such as it would mean that we wouldn't, staffers that right now are having trouble paying to live in Washington, D.C. because it's so expensive, wouldn't have to live there. They could live in the home districts, which means that people of District 12 would have not only more access to me every day because I would actually be in the home office, but also all my staffers that would be there as well. This means that I would be able every day to relate to what the constituents around me and where I came from and what they want, not what people in the bubble of Washington, D.C. want. I also think I'm the best candidate to set Republicans up for 2020. This is because I will serve all people regardless if they vote for me, if they didn't vote at all, or if they voted against me. This is what we need to be representing to people going into 2020. It's not just a matter of reaching out to Trump's base. Trump's base is fantastic. I'm part of it. I support Trump. I voted for Trump. And a lot of us in District 12 are part of that base. But we need to be reaching out to people that are independent, moderates, and even people that are on the left that are being disenfranchised by the Democratic Party. One of the ways we could do that is to show that we are reasonable people and that, in fact, we want to talk for all Americans, regardless if they vote for us or not. Look at the mistake Hillary made saying that anyone who voted for Trump was a deplorable. I will not make that mistake. I will show that Trump is representing the Republicans as the big tent party. We welcome everyone, regardless if they voted for us or not, regardless of their race, gender, class, age. All of them are welcome in our party, and I'll be able to represent that by connecting to the demographics and representing everyone regardless if they voted for me or not, and making that public knowledge. I also think that civility is key. We had a lot of people talk about how things like the gloves need to come off. I understand that idea totally. It's shameful what's done to Republicans and Trump supporters in specific, where we're called racist for supporting the president, we're racist for wanting to protect our borders, and other things like that. And your gut reaction is to come out swinging. But we need to reach those moderate and independent people. By coming out swinging, we could isolate them and they think, well, both parties are extreme, so I won't vote, or I'll just vote independent or third party. By being civil and passionately arguing our defense, and it gives us the moral high ground, and it shows that we not only are the most logical party, but the most moral party. We could passionately argue with people, show that they're wrong, show our positions, but do so in a very civil manner. And I'm an expert at doing this, which I did all through college as a debater, and I've done all through my YouTube channel with hundreds of videos where I bring on people that even disagree with me, and I'm able to talk to them in a civil manner which they respect. I also think this will be key to winning public perception. And even though the media will constantly try to smear Trump or anyone that smears him, by constantly going out there and showing we are actually the reasonable party, we are actually the reasonable people that aren't extremists, we're willing to hear all sides, this will help win public perception. That'll set us up for 2020 because we could finally paint the Democratic Party as the extremists that they are. I also think that I'm able to give a voice to the regular person more than anyone else. That's the reason that I'm running in the first place. I felt that the average constituent of people like District 12, just regular hardworking people, don't have a voice in Washington anymore. I live every day like the average constituent of District 12. I live in rural Pennsylvania. I live paycheck to paycheck. I know that we don't want handouts. We just want to be able to live our own life and be independent and pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. This is what the average person in District 12 wants, and I feel I'm most like them. There's a lot of great candidates running, but many of them are very successful, as they've said. Do they remember what it's like to live in this situation paycheck to paycheck? I will remember because that's how I've lived my entire life, and I understand the importance of listening to every constituent because I know every person has something to offer me, and I'm there to serve all of them. I also will be able to skillfully take on media bias and the conservative censorship. The cultural institutions of power in this party are all controlled by the establishment Democrats. This includes academia, the entertainment industry, the mainstream media, and even places like the tech world and social media leaders now. I'll be able to argue their double standards and bias as I do on my YouTube channel all the time. For example, the bias we see in the Covington case where they tried to smear white kids that were Trump supporters as racist while ignoring the fact that adult blacks that actually are a hate and race group hurled racist and homophobic slurs over them. I'll be able to go on media outlets, even those that are Democrat, and articulate in a civil, well-impassioned reason why they have a double standard and why that's bad. That's important because in order to achieve continued success, it's not just what I vote for, it's also getting that message out there to make sure that the Republicans are winning beyond. And also, one of the things that I haven't heard other people talk about is I'll push for transparency in this witch hunt against Trump. What we see now may be the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States. We have an intelligence agency that used opposition research paid for by Hillary Clinton to justify spying on Trump's presidential campaign and to go after his candidate or go after him after he was president. I understand this situation in and out almost better than anyone I've seen. I've been doing videos on it for almost 8 months. I've been writing about it for over 2 years about how this scandal is enormous. We need to be able to solve this. We need transparency in these documents. Trump needs an ally that understands just how terrible this is. If we do not solve this, this means that every other issue that everyone's talking about won't matter. Because in order to have free elections, we can't have unelected bureaucrats that are spying on candidates. Remember, with the Nixon situation, the argument was that a couple people went to a hotel to look at documents from the other side. Now imagine the most powerful investigative intelligence agency in the history of the world being used as a weapon by the Democratic Party and by the establishment to go after anyone that dare criticize them. Chuck Schumer told us that Trump shouldn't criticize the intel communities because they'd find 6 ways from Sunday of getting back to him. We need to solve this first. All of our issues that the regular voice wants to talk about won't matter if these unelected bureaucrats are running the country. And I'm in a unique position to be able to articulate to all of my constituents and all people in the public area why this is such a criminal act, and to be able to advocate by having oversight from these intelligence committee and getting all these documents to be transparent so that all the average American can see just how terrible this was. Lastly, I feel that I'm not a traditional politician, and this is a good thing. Remember, Trump was an outsider, and he turned out to be exactly what we want. He's the first person, someone who wasn't a politician, to not kowtow to lobbyists. He's actually concerned about things like defending the border that people in both parties have ignored for years. He's not someone who's been bought and paid for, and he's advocating for making America great first through trade policies, economic policies, and things like that. I'm exactly that type of outsider as well, who feels that I could come in, and because I'm not a traditional politician, I'll be able to speak exactly for the constituents and their voices and not worry about pandering to want personal success or to look good in front of other people in Washington. And lastly, I think that although there might be questions of, well, then do I have the experience necessary? My campaign work ethic and skill that's been put forth by my campaign, I think is a very good indicator of just how hard I'll work and how successful I could be. I've talked to many media outlets that have ran articles about me all throughout District 12. Even in other areas, there have been interviews of me. I've put up hundreds of hours of videos that talk exactly what my policy positions would be. We've sent out PowerPoints. We've personally contacted almost every conferee individually through email. We're sending out updates every day. I'm able to put out videos in direct response to the teleconference last night. This type of work ethic shows that I'm serious about working for the people of District 12, and I will be connected to them. Due to all of this, I think these issues make me stand out as a candidate, and I'm looking forward to, I encourage everyone to read or check out my videos that I put up, read all the material I put out. I have policy positions on numerous policies that we didn't have time to discuss last night that are all fiscal conservatism and return to constitutional principles, which I think are very good for the people of District 12. So I look forward to talking to everyone, hopefully by phone, hopefully in person before the nomination process, and I thank you so much for your time and the important role you're taking to make sure that District 12 served in the best way possible.